Hi, welcome back to farmacg.net. In this tutorial we are going to create the audio visualization effect within the Blender, and this is the scene file. You can see I'm going to just play with the sound on. See, depending on the audio spectrum, this is our particle dynamics that will interactively change with audio visualization or the audio spectrum. And this is the great tool for creating some audio visualization effect, and also it has some problems also because of the Blender interface. We need to improve the actual particle dynamics in the Blender. So let us start creating this from scratch. Before doing this tutorial, I'm just asking you some help. First of all, I need a little support from you guys, so just please sharing my tutorials on your social profiles like Google+, Facebook, Twitter, and other social profiles, so I get some views. And also subscribe to my farmacg YouTube channel, because soon the farmacg channel will be available to subscribe only. And also please comment regularly so I can improvise my tutorial skills and all the effects. And if you have any problems, just ask me while commenting. So I'm going to create this effect from the scratch. So file, new, and I have a default cube. Before starting, we need to locate our audio effect. So this is not a necessary step. You need to add any audio within the scene, but for visualization I'm just going to add a speaker. So that will add a speaker object here like this, and in the speaker menu you can choose whichever sound you need to create, and have some default music downloaded from YouTube channel. You can get a different sound mp3 file from soundj.com or freesound.com or opensound.org or any free sound sharing site. So this is an mp3 file, and just this has no purpose on this scene, just only for hearing this audio, just playing the scene. Okay, now we have our audio within the scene itself, and we need to create the particles first. So I'm just going to remove this toolbar by pressing T and going to scale this. So press S and X so we can scale a little bit like this, and also press S, Shift X and scale it down like this. So we have an emitter object, so it's going to change it to an emitter. So we need our particles first. So add particle system and change it to audio particle. So we have a particle system. If I play the scene, you can see we have this particle going down. I'm just going to turn off the sound now, volume to 0.01, so you can hear what I'm saying. Maybe a little bit limiting mute is okay. Okay, so we have our particles, and this is behaving like downward. We are going to use a special particle system named boids. Before that we need to change the start and end frame to be 1, so all the 1000 particles will be present at the first frame, and we need to increase the lifetime to whatever you want. You can just increase it to 3000 frames if you want your audio, whatever your audio lifespan or the audio time span, you can just use that amount of lifetime. I'm just using to 3000 because I'm going to use a 3000 frames for this dynamics. And also you can just use random event distribution. You can play with these settings and don't use anything here. I'm going to use one thing called boids. So these will be our particles, and turning on, you can see there are certain settings here. We can discuss these settings and all the boid settings in further tutorials. I'm just going to show how to use it for the audio production, the audio visualization. See, now we have some kind of effect like this, and it automatically flies and clumps together. So just you can use allow flight to turn off and just play the scene. So see, this will happen. So just use allow flight, and here you can see a lot of settings here, that is a separate flow, everything like this, and these are the actual boid settings that affect the behavior of particles. So this is just okay for me now, and we need to add some more settings. That means we need to add our particles with the cubes or whatever object you need. First of all, I don't need this cube to be rendered, so just turn off this emitter, and here you can see whichever object you can use. You can use, if a line you need, you can just use the line particles like this, or path, object, group, billboards, anything. You can just use hello. So that will change the visibility of this object, but I'm just going to use another cube. So maybe in the second scene layer, add a mesh. I'm just going to use cube because this is the least memory efficient object. So we can just experiment with these settings. Later on you can change to any other shape. So this is the cube I'm going to use, and just renaming it to instance cube. So I just renamed it instance cube, and also I need to add a simple modifier named bevel, so that will add some bevel here, and just turn on the segments to 2, and also in the toolbar change to smooth, so that will add the bevel modifier itself, and simply press apply button. So that will apply this, and you can just add any other material. First of all, this audio visualization effect, that means if you want all the particles object should be in the different color according to the audio visualization or the audio spectrum, you need to use the cycles render, because the blender render doesn't have a direct solution for that. So just using the cycles render, add a new material, change to particle, whatever you name, you just simply I'm just using a red color for the visualization. So settings, we put color to red. So this is our object, and just going to save the scene first. Ctrl S, and you can just save it as tutorial audio. So save the blend file and see, now we have our object like this. And going back to our first layer, and in the particle itself just use object and duplicate object, select our instance cube that will add our cube to this, and pressing T again, and just play the scene 1 second to see what's happening. See, now we have some object separated and colliding each other. That is, now it is not behaving with our sound, it is just randomly behaving itself. And you can see there are a lot of options here. Size, random size. I'm just going to increase the size, random size to 1, so all the cubes will be randomly sized, and also increase the size a little bit higher so we can see what's happening. And see, so this will happen to the object, but still it is not behaving with the sound. So in order to get that effect, you need to add or the bake sound with the object itself. So that in order to do that, just click on the size, right click, insert a keyframe. That will add a keyframe for the size itself, and it doesn't matter wherever frame you are in. Just go to animation mode, or maybe you can just use the timeliner itself to an animation mode, or the graph editor mode. See, we have the emitter selected, the particle settings, and in the size we have a keyframe. So this is the keyframe, and see, there is a key for it, and we need to change the key value to a particle sound. So in order to do that, go to the first frame of the scene, maybe in the 0 frame or the first frame. Just select the key and see, there is one thing called bake sound curve. Select that, and it will ask for the sound file itself. Select the sound you just used for the speaker itself, and that is the magic marker MP3, and press bake, and this will take a little bit. And see, now we have a baked sound from the first frame. And that will last for maybe 3000 or 800 frame. So that's okay, because we just have 3000 frames. So I'm just using back to timeliner itself and play to see what's happening. See, now according to the beat of the sound, our particle behave. The scale value of the particles will be that, and just turning on the sound itself so you can hear what is going on. Okay, so we have the particle size is adjusted with the sound beat itself. Now it's time to add the color. So first I'm just going to say again, and in the rendered mode you can see still the particles doesn't have the actual sound itself with the color. So maybe I'm just going to delete our default lamp itself. Press delete, and in the world mode, that is in the world mode, select the color to be in the white. So we will get some nice color effect like this. And see, now we have some kind of color effect. So you can just play with the lighting value or the world value itself, I don't care. So we just need the color value. In order to get the different color for your scene, you need to jump to the actual instanced cube itself, because it has the actual material itself to the color value, and you can just plug any value in a texture to here. I'm just going to use the node data to adjust the color value. It should be in the rendered mode, see, and I'm going to use, still selecting the cube, I'm going to change this to a node editor, and you can see now we have a diffuse node adjusted to the material output. We need to add some node itself. First add, you can see a lot of options appearing here. We are just using an input, that is, you can see a input particle info node that have a lot of options like index, age, lifetime, location, size, velocity, and angular velocities. And if I plug the size value directly to the color value, this will happen because it has some kind of 0.01 to 1, so that will change to only to 0 to 1, that means black to white, so that doesn't help in creating the actual effect itself. If you want to get the actual rendering of that, you need to get to the particle node, the particle view itself. See, this is the particle, so if I just plug that to it and see, now some will get black, some will get gray, and some will get white. So this is definitely not going to help by changing the color itself. So we need to add another node named a hue saturation value, so this will help. So just press the color value to the color itself, and now we have this is to white, so you can just change to any color. So I'm just using a orange, red, and so you can see now there is no plugin to here, so just select the size value to the hue value itself. Now you can see a lot of color values happening here. You can just experiment with the different color itself, see what is happening with the different color itself, and choose a better color. And now we will get different colored values according to the color. I think that will help you creating more effect like this. So I'm just going back to properties mode, and we need to create some settings also. First going to solid mode. Okay, so we have different colored object. Make sure you need to get your coloring, you should be in the rendered mode, because in any other mode you cannot see the actual color itself. So like this, in the particle itself, select the cube itself, and see there is a lot of option you can just play with. And just after that you need to use a cache before rendering, so just name it in particle cache, they like cube tutorial or any name you like, and just use the cache step to 1, because that will get a more accurate collision. But still you can see there won't be any accurate collision for your object, because the size of the object is randomly occurring throughout this frame, so Blender won't calculate it frame by frame for the size. It should calculate at the first frame and then it will go on. So I think there may need some more API integration for that, or maybe some other solution. I don't know. If you know that, you can just comment it below, and just use a cache step and simply back it to the cache, and that will help you in playing back and rendering. So just play back, and that will take some time depending on your computer speed. and the object that need to back, and see, depending on the actual scene file itself, we can see a number is flowing like this. If 200, the back is done, and see, now we have a baked particles itself, and see, can get lots of options like this. See, we have some kind of particles, and there is, you need to adjust your camera first and press just allow camera to view, and use any kind of view you want, which is better or the best for you, and just play the scene. And if you want the camera to fly around the scene, you can just do some basic animations with the camera. And if you want how to do that, you can just watch my previous tutorial about the 3D text and the cloth effect, and you can see just created how to create the camera effect. So you can use any kind of effect like this using your camera. And one more thing, if you want, you can just use the dolly or the dance dolly effect by plugging the camera itself with the fcurve, or just you can use the constraint value, and we can discuss it on later tutorials. So like this, you can get a more interesting effect. So keep watching for my CG Dot, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel and share it with your friends and family, and also comment your opinion below.